Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to episode 40 of Kerbal Space Endeavour. This is a double feature episode because I think it is special that we commemorate the 40th episode. So we start out here around Laythe, and we have a little probe that is supposed to go down to the surface to find a proper spot for landing our permanent base on Laythe. However, re-entry was a little bit iffy, and it was also on the dark side of the planet, which is a little bit inconvenient because you guys do not get to see as much as you should. However, with the use of parachutes, we actually do make it down and have a more or less successful landing, if I might say so. Yeah, I was gone for a week, and I do apologize for that, but I told you guys in ahead that I was going to be gone. Time's a little bit of a problem with me at the moment. That is why I have such an irregular schedule, and I hope you guys, I hope you guys are not mad at me. One thing I also like to say is I really want to thank you guys who are watching it and enjoying it at the same time, because the more you watch it, the more I am motivated to make more episodes and things like that. So clicks and likes help me know what you want and how much you want it. So yeah, just that's the way of giving me feedback, aside of using, of course, the comment section. But enough of that, let's get back to what's going on here. So I had to get rid of the little RCS tank I had put on top that was used to deorbit the craft. And this is, or was, a VTOL probe, which was supposed to fly to different places around the planet, so I find the perfect spot for my permanent base here on Laythe. So it has two little jet engines that work in Laythe atmosphere because there is oxygen. However, it doesn't particularly fly too well, as you can see, and I didn't know why, because I tested it before and it was working fine, but somehow now it didn't. So I had to use the reload button, drop the stage here again, and then try to lift off again. I tried extending the gear as well, hoping it might stabilize things, but well, yeah. So, turning on the engines again, and we're trying another lift-off. Hopefully this time a lot more stable. And as it seems, it is a little bit more stable. But of course, I already know what's going on, because this is all post-edited. So, if you take a closer look, you might already see what's wrong with the craft and why I'm having such a hard time controlling it and steering it. I'm not gonna tell it to you guys yet, so no spoilers yet. But of course we have these foldable, or actually rotatable wings here. That's the way this little VTOL probe should have worked, or does work. And yeah, somehow the craft was very, very unstable, and I just didn't know at the time why, and yeah, it was rather annoying. But sooner or later I actually reached some land and tried to land. However, it did not turn out as intended, even though we rolled around a couple of times, and I was lucky enough to land on my landing gear again, though I did lose one of my air intakes, which would probably make this entire craft even more unstable as before. So we waited until it is day again, and you guys actually get to see it, and now you can actually see the problem. On one side, it is actually completely attached to the craft. On the other side, it is kind of far away. And when I tried lifting off again, well, you know, explosions. Fancy explosions. So, leaving that project behind, we have something in orbit that needs to get down to the surface. And that is Barfin and Wilgus Kerman on board the majestic Laythe Base 1. If you guys have any suggestions for names, I'd appreciate it. And just comment in the comment section to let me know what you guys think we should name our first base on Laythe. Now, I was trying to target this little area over here because it is around the equator, and I was hoping it would be kind of not slopey, because slopes are pretty bad and pretty much could screw up the whole thing. So we're just gonna go here to periapse, and then we're going to turn the craft around and use the 2 remaining engines that we do have on board to decelerate and get ourselves into a deorbit orbit? A deorbit orbit? Is that right? I'm not sure. Whatever. And as we can see here, our periapse and apoapse are moving and changing. I must say ScanSet is a really fine thing for trying to land on certain areas. It's quite necessary. So, we're going ahead here and we've ditched our engines. Even though they would have had more than enough fuel on board for, I don't know, going someplace else, I guess. But there is no other place to go, so we're just gonna have to get down here and have the engines burn up in the atmosphere. So while having a re-entry here, we also just saw Joule rising, which was rather beautiful, thanks to the visual enhancement mod. And as you can see, I used warp, in-game warp here to accelerate time, and I also used post-editing warping because, yeah, it kind of takes a long time for things to deorbit, but I actually wanted to show this to you guys to see that this craft actually made it down to the surface, even though right now it is kind of spinning out of control. We used pretty much half of our Obliviate shielding that we have on our heat shields at the bottom, and yeah, but it all held together, nothing burned or flew off, so yay for that. We have parachutes on board, which thankfully triggered fine enough. We were still kind of fast, so I detached these things, but there you go! It is a successful landing here on Laythe. Let's skip ahead here a little bit. I know I'm a little bit excited, but also I want to get ahead because it's a double feature episode and there's still so much going on here. Like this thing we just unfolded, which is from the extraplanetary launchpad, which will let us build things in the future. Now, I'm deploying parts of the base here and clicking a few things here and there. I am going to implement a double extra episode. Let's call it a bonus episode, where I'm actually going into detail on how this space works and operates. It is going to be about 20 minutes, so like in normal episode that I'm doing. It's not going to be part of the entire series, it's just going to be a bonus episode. So for those of you who are interested in how the MKS mod works, they can watch it. For the other guys who are just interested in the story, we'll just skip it, I guess. So let's continue on here. We are actually building something. And what we're building here is something that I need. And that is this little thing here that I'm having a really hard time on putting towards the base because we're on quite a steep slope. And if you guys make any jokes that I cannot aim with this, sure, go ahead. In the end, I did get it. Now what this thing is, it's also from the Extraplanetary Launchpad mod, which lets me, just build stuff that is not so high up and safer. And what the hell was I doing there? Weird. Okay. Okay. Yes. I guess. So we continue on, and I built another thing, which most of you will already know. This is a modified version of my MKS crane, which I will probably use to advance and extend the base. And damn it, that stupid slope. Ooh, whoa. Okay, I guess I was pretty lucky there that that thing just rolled over and nothing broke off. Hooray! Moving on, we have our window for Duna. So we're gonna transfer Lumen Kerman here onto our grasshopper that I've designed, and you guys have seen a couple of weeks ago actually in a teaser video that I made. So yeah, we are going to Duna this episode, not only settling Laythe but also going to Duna. So much things happening at the same time at the moment in my game. It's rather ridiculous actually. But yeah, I chose so, and now I get punished for it. There were actually a couple of instances where things were really happening at the same time, and it was rather annoying. I had to change orbital trajectories so things wouldn't happen at the same time, and things like that. So note to beginners or other KSB players, try to have only like one dedicated mission you're going for. Otherwise, things just start to stack up and you run into trouble. So, back to the mission at hand. We're just gonna put this in orbit, which is going to be the lander. And this here is the second part of the Duna mission, which has a lander for Duna and Ike, and a main drive stage, which should then bring our crew back to Kerbal once everything there is completed. So we just send 2 crafts towards Duna instead of the 3 crafts that we send towards Eve. Here we're just going to unfold some extra photovoltaic panels, wait for the right moment, and then just start to put ourselves into a circularized orbit. Now, the lower the orbit would be, the more fuel efficient I'd be once I go for the different place. However, I am just, I don't know, lazy, I guess, and just put it into a close orbit to the starting orbit, which was, I think, Shangri-La is about at 500 kilometers. So here we are at a 550, and we're just gonna go start accelerate from here towards Duna. Now, sadly enough, we're on the dark side of the planet, so we do not really see that much, except some beautiful cities down there on Kerbal, and I don't know what that is, but I guess it's a something. And of course we have to do that for our main mission for Duna as well. Yeah, and as we drew closer, I set up a second maneuver node to pretty much put ourselves in a perfect orbit, because my initial burns never really turn out the way I want them to, just simply because I do not have the acceleration power that I need to have this absolute precise maneuver. Most of the time when you have like over 500 or 600 delta V that you need to accelerate at a maneuver node, you never really get it spot on, and then you just have to pretty much add another maneuver mid-flight or early on to get it to the way that you want it and need it. So let's continue on. We are back here, and I'm trying to find a good spot where I can or could move my base to, because these slopes are really annoying. So to move my base, I need a crane. So I designed the monster. Yes, I've named it the monster because it's monstrous. Building it, however, will also take quite some time. I think it took over 80 days of construction, because Wilgus and Barf and Kerman just took quite some time of building it together. But we'll get to that later. Right now, our Eve mission needs some attention. Now, this is our Eve buggy, science, truck, whatever you want to call it. I don't have a name for it yet. Comment section. You guys know it. I need names. And we're just gonna try and get it into orbit around Eve and then find a particularly nice spot where we can deorbit the craft. Right now we're just using the atmosphere to slow ourselves down. I'm also dropping here the excessive fuel tank, and if you're saying it was not such a good idea to drop this while aerobraking, I agree with you. It was not such a good idea. However, I was in luck and nothing bad happened this time. But yeah, as you can see, I'm getting down and down and down, more closer towards the planet. My periapse is actually almost in the planet, so I had to get it out of the planet again and use the atmosphere again to slow myself down even further. In the end, as you can see here, we had a circularized orbit, and I made a maneuver which should get me on the day side of the planet, and hopefully not within any kind of water, because splashdowns usually tend to break fragile things, and this thing is pretty sturdy, but somehow I've the feeling a water landing on Eve wouldn't be the best of ideas, because simply the gravity is a lot higher here on Eve than it is on Kerbin. So we ditch our engines and we have no more control whatsoever. We can just pretty much wait and hope that re-entry is stable. I mean, I do have SAS modules on board which let me control the craft, and I had to be a little bit careful on re-entry and while decoupling here so nothing broke off. However, something did break off. I just never figured out what it was. So yeah, slowly sailing towards Eve, or through the thick atmosphere of Eve, which is the bane of my existence, which you guys will see once we will try to escape Eve. But here we go, we actually have a successful landing. Now, yeah, it was rather a good feeling at the time finishing this, because, yeah, as I said, Eve is the bane of my existence. And as you can see here, we're going down the hill, and I'm trying to brake, and it's not really working, and yeah. And I even nose bump. But let's get to original me, who has something to say about this. Okay, so it's time to collect some science. So, the orbital research scanner I should have used in orbit. I am a moron. Okay, the ground-based research scanner. Start MCE rover research. Start scanning of ground level. Please stand by. Standing by. Okay, doesn't want to go. Start landed experiments. Yep, hope you brought extra fuel if you plan on taking 100% science back to Kerbin. I don't plan on doing that, but we're going to start transmitting. Transmit data. There we go. Alright, so what else do we have around here? Observe mystery goo. The goo finds this environment to its liking. Transmit. And come on, let me click you. There we go. Log atmospheric data. And what do we got? This might be an atmosphere, but it's definitely not something you want to breathe. Alright. Next on chapter here is the gravity data. The gravitational field is very strong here. The sensors records detailed data about the local field. And we're also going to transmit that. The seismic data. The sensor has detected possible seismic activity below the surface. Let's hope we don't get a volcano right under our boots. What do we have now? The materials bay. And you're not sure if most of the samples changed color or it's just the lighting. By the way, we're in the mountains at the moment. Actually, where did we land? Oh, okay. Well, between lakes, Crater Lake, Eastern Sea, Southern Sea. Okay, well, we're just in the middle of things. We'll have to see once our lander gets down here where we're going to meet up with it. Let's log the temperature, which is 149 degrees at the moment. The air grows quite chilly up in the mountains. 149 degrees Celsius is not really chilly, I must add. That is boiling hot. The magnetometer data, please. There we go. And surface level magnetism is slightly lower than measured in orbit, which we've forgotten. Eve's strong ring current may be responsible for shielding the surface from some of its magnetic field. We're also going to transmit that. And now the radio plasma wave antenna. I wonder if it's working. I remember sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. And RPS antenna is not suited for atmospheric use or surface deployment. Okay, well, I guess I should have done these things in space. Oh well. And also, visual observations cannot be taken since we're on the surface. Okay, before I forget though, we can also take in a crew report. You record the situation. Hooray! Thanks for recording. Now, I'd like to have Billy Bobbery get out. So, EVA. And you're upside down. That's rather unfortunate. Can we switch? Yes, we can, because there's still two things we can do. Collect the laser data. Bzzzt. And there we go. This mountainous region of Eve is composed mainly of basalt and other igneous rock, suggesting past volcanic activity. Called it. Called it. And we have the Kerbal core drill. Collect a core sample. There we go. Didn't really reach the ground, but who cares? No trace gases or other signs of organic activity are detected in this sample. Okay, there seems to be nothing alive here, Captain. Whoa. That's not what I wanted. There we go. Let's climb down head first, because let's do a headstand. Or not. Billy Bobbery Kerman, my successor here on Eve. Oh, I'll probably have to do a screenshot here, because it is magnificent. Plant a flag to commemorate this moment, of course. And this is the mountain... Eve Mountains. Well, let's just call them mountains. This is it. We have done it. We have... Wait, landed. Let's land it in hell. Because that's what it is. And we're just gonna give him his nickname. Billy. Yes, because this is actually, quite frankly, hell. 150 degrees Celsius, atmosphere very, very thick, and the likelihood of us getting off this planet is ever so slim, even though I have a tested craft. So let's take a surface sample. These mountains are clearly made of rock. Thank you. And the report says, did you eat too much before you left? You feel so sluggish and heavy. That is due to the fact that the gravity is really high on this planet. Wait, can we see it here? Yes, we have a gravitational pull of 1.6. That is quite heavy, so right now our Kerbal is 1.6 times heavier than he would be on Urban. Alright, now the data that we have here, we're going to transmit and transmit. Okay, this thing is prepped and ready to receive our lander. So we're just gonna leave it here for now until we know where our lander has landed. Right now it is still a couple of days away, and yeah, we're just gonna go and get to it. However, first we need to switch to our manned mission, which has a really weird trajectory, as you've just seen, and I need to correct that. Why this trajectory is so weird, I cannot explain. Somehow my save file was a little bit corrupted, I guess, or I don't know, because when I switched to the crafts, the trajectories and my alarm clocks were not the way I left them, so that was kind of weird. But yeah, so here we have the Eve lander, which is hopefully going to help us escape Eve. This one was actually spot on. I don't know why some of the crafts were and the other ones were like way out of orbit or out of the orbit that they were supposed to be, but yeah, I guess, yeah. So, a little bit of a slideshow here, jumping ahead as far as I can to keep it interesting. We just here ditched our additional fuel pods, I guess. And as you can see, we're slowing down at periaps. I didn't put this into an aero braking simply because it does have lots and lots of fuel. Now, one of the things I noticed here is that this is Gilly, is spinning a different way than my manned mission, which is rather inconvenient because our Gilly lander at the back of the craft here would need too much fuel to turn around. So, while we still have these extra fuel tanks on board, we're going to change our trajectory from, what was that? From clockwise to, no, now it is clockwise, right? I think now it was clockwise. Yeah. And while we're in low orbit and we're not going to decelerate with the entire craft, we're going to transfer our crewmen over here to our Gilly lander, and we're going to detach the Gilly lander, who is going to go back into a high orbit where it will try to encounter Gilly. Now, originally, there should have been another Kerbal on board who was supposed to stay here on the manned mission, which is going to return to Kerbin. However, thanks to the satellite network that I've built up over Eve here, I am able to remotely control this craft and put it into a stable orbit. Now, let's switch here to the Gilly lander and do a normal orbital maneuver where we first try to get our inclination lined up, and once we did that, we get to make another maneuver where we get pretty much on the same altitude as Gilly, and so forth, and so forth, and so forth. Blah, 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 blah. I hope I'm not too annoying to you guys, but I know there's at least 12 people out there who really enjoy my videos because I get your likes, and thank you for it. So yeah, this is the third maneuver that I did to get an encounter with Gilly. And Gilly's kind of special. It has very low gravity, so the sphere of influence is very small. I actually used RCS here to fix my trajectory, and as you can see, just a slight button and button touch and the entire orbit changes. So I will not use a lot of fuel when I am there. It still just takes me a little bit of fuel to get there. Moving on and having a nice view of Joule here, as it is actually it's not really rotating around, well, it is rotating around the sun, it's just us rotating around Joule. We actually finished the monster, which took an eternity. So yeah, this is the monstrous crane that I came up with. Definitely not the best design I have ever made, but I thought it would do the trick. And yeah, we're just gonna release it, and I'm not gonna show all of the maneuvering that I did with this crane, just simply because this took forever. Originally, I planned to use magnets, but because I'm on a slope, I couldn't get all of the magnets to hit the right targets, and you can't just slap magnets onto things. So I actually had to build these little ports right there where you can put the hooks in, and I moved pretty much all around the craft and put these things in so we could lift the craft. Yeah, that is what I was trying to say, I guess. But yeah, it had 4 points that were connected like this all around the corners. One is or was in the center, and I'm showing this here in pretty much normal speed. As you can see, it's a little bit laggy and a little bit slow, and you guys can kind of see how annoying this was. While I was messing around with this, which caused me another problem, which I do not want to get into too much, our mission here on Gilly came up again, and we had to put it into a orbit. Well, actually, we reached the sphere of influence, we waited until we got to periapse, where we then accelerated, or actually decelerated, so we got into an orbit around Gilly. I didn't want to land right away because I wanted to finish my project on Laythe before I did anything else. And this is what I meant earlier, is that I had so many things going on at the same time, and yeah, it kinda... I hope I don't forget anything, like not put an alarm clock in for something and then just forget entirely about a mission until everybody starves to death. That would be rather annoying. But let's go ahead and skip back to where all of the lines and hooks are actually connected. And we have a liftoff of the base, which is rather wobbly and wibbly, and yeah. As I said, this was definitely not my best idea, nor my best design. So, I am trying to look for a place where I can put my base. Something that is around 1 degree slope tops. I really want it flat so I can build more things, add more things to it. If you're going to watch my bonus video where I'm going to explain how the base works, you guys will see that I am producing all of the things that I need. Actually, I'm producing food, more food than I'm consuming with my 2 Kerbals here, but at a very, very slow rate. I think I would be producing like less than 1 food per day, and that is definitely not enough to support more Kerbals around here. So I definitely have to increase the base size and the production of food. Oxygen and water are no problem at all, because water I can just extract from the surface, and oxygen is simply extracted from the air, so there is no problem here whatsoever. So as you can see, we're moving the craft slowly away, and it's kind of a little like a pendulum. Like, yeah, this here is one of the instances where I was trying to slow down a little bit so things didn't go wrong, and things tend to swing and bounce around, and yeah. This is one of the reasons why this episode is so delayed, just because moving this craft took forever. This is normal speed as you see it right here, as how I played it. Rather annoying. However, in the end, I actually found a spot which has a slope of 1.1 degrees, which I said, okay, fine, I'm just gonna go settle down here because, frankly, I just wanted to be done with this. I was tired of hitting the W key, getting out, and trying to repair wheels and all of the other stuff. And I settled here on this little spot, which is this peninsula between these three lakes. So we drove pretty far here, all over here, and yeah, ooh, we have even a nice view of Jewel and one of its moons back there, which is Paul or Tyler or I don't know. I also checked here for another surface which might have been even flatter. I don't know, flatter? Yeah, but I said, nah, let's just screw it. We are staying here. Now I undocked the craft, and when I switched back to my wonderful monster, I didn't have a connection anymore for some reason, because we are behind. Well, actually, our connection here is behind Laythe. That's the word I was looking for, Laythe. But once we actually time warp a little bit, we have a connection again, and we are allowed to undock all of these things and move our crane away. I'm not gonna disassemble it yet. If you can see in the top bottom left corner of the screen, you can see that the crane could actually disassemble into 5 pieces, and then I could pick up the pieces and maybe recycle them. So that's why I put these features in. But I don't know yet. Maybe I still have to relocate. That is something that I have to still look into. But we have settled Laythe. We have a self-supporting base, and there's definitely a lot of things we can look forward to. We have the Duna mission, we have the Eve mission, and of course we have a Joule mission coming up where we're going to have to send I don't know, between 5 and 10 Kerbals towards Joule. Meanwhile, we're going to start building up more infrastructure here around Joule, like ships and more base and all of these kind of things. But all of this will be in future episodes. And now I'm just going to unfold everything, start turning all the things back on, and finishing the small little details that are necessary but not so interesting for everybody. So, I hope you guys enjoyed the 40th episode, the double feature bonus. And I will also start playing Homeworld 2 pretty soon, so you guys can expect that as well. I saw you guys enjoyed, or at least some of you guys are. But KSB is still a running thing for me, so you can enjoy more episodes in the near future. Thank you guys for tuning in, and until next time.